Latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome to Pitchside Talk from home. Still not on IO Radio, but we will be back soon. And guys, who am I joined by today? Well, I'm joined by Dan as always, and Piers as well. We seem to have got him on a permanent signing at the moment.
For now, yeah.
Well, no, yeah. A show-by-show contract, I think we shall call it. But guys, did you know today is the 50th episode of Pitchside Talk? It's been going now for 50 episodes. That's absolutely mad, because I remember we did the first one back in April last year.
Yeah, God, that's so long ago. Wow, it's mad. Oh, we got 50 episodes. Can't believe it.
Yeah, a few breaks in between. Yeah, we do need a sponsor. A few breaks in between, I must add. We have had a few months off, so this has been a bit delayed. I think this should have happened possibly in April, but it's happening now in July. But ho, we finally reached 50 episodes, and thanks to all the people that have watched and sort of followed our journey throughout. And if you want to follow more, well, you can go onto our social media, which is Twitter @PitchsideTalk, Instagram @Talk_pitch. If you want to listen back to any of our previous 49 episodes, you can go onto YouTube, which is Pitchside Talk. And if you want to listen to any of our previous shows, even offline, they're on Mixcloud. You better listen to them because they are pretty good. So we are doing a very, very special episode today. We are talking about the Premier League. As always, we've got some juicy stories and twists and turns happening in the Premier League. The FA Cup semi-finals happened on the weekend. We found out who will be in the final of that. And also Leeds United. Something happened to them this week. Some people like it, some people don't. But that's just Leeds United's approach, really. Everybody hates them, apparently. But starting off in the Premier League, we had 17 games across this week. And here are the results from those games. So we start off on Wednesday. Burnley got a 1-1 draw against Wolves. Manchester City beat Bournemouth 2-1, putting Bournemouth back in the relegation zone battle. Newcastle lost 3-1 to Tottenham. And Arsenal beat Liverpool 2-1. What? Everton got a 1-1 draw against Aston Villa, denying them some sort of hope of getting out of the relegation. So Leicester won 2-0 against Sheffield United. Crystal Palace lost 2-0 to Manchester United. And Southampton drawed 1-1 with Brighton on Thursday. Friday saw West Ham versus Watford, with West Ham winning 3-1. Sort of sending Nigel Pearson goodbye on Sunday as he got sacked. And Norwich lost 2-0 to Burnley. And Norwich lost 2-0 to Burnley. Southampton won 2-0 against Bournemouth, putting Bournemouth in danger with only one game left to survive in 19th place. Still doable, but a bit tough. Brighton draws 0-0 with Newcastle. Sheffield United won 1-0 against Everton. Everton won 1-0 against Sheffield United. My mistake there. And Wolves won 2-0 against Crystal Palace. And last night we saw Watford lose 4-0 to Manchester City. And Aston Villa picking up a win against Arsenal 1-0, sending them outside of the relegation zone, putting Watford back in it by 1 goal difference. But starting off with Watford, the biggest and sort of the controversial news really this week, but Nigel Pearson was sacked by Watford on Sunday after their 3-1 defeat to West Ham on Friday. It's a bit of a strange decision really, because where Nigel Pearson took Watford from, they were 20th when he took over. He got them outside the relegation zone, only just. We must say only just, but it's strange to see this sort of sacking happening with 2 games to go. They played Man City last night. They lost 4-0, but they've got to play Arsenal on Sunday, the final game of the season. But how surprised were you to see that Nigel Pearson is gone?
Yeah, I was really surprised when I saw that news. I think, I thought he'd done an okay job. I think Watford were quite a way away from safety towards the start of the season, and he done well to kind of claw back them points, and he got them outside of the relegation zone. Obviously, as you said, it was only just, but I just think the timing of the sacking was wrong. I think with 2 games to go, you never really see that with 2 games to go, and especially in Watford's, it's important games for Watford. So them going into the 2 crucial games without a manager, I think that's pretty big for them. And obviously, they're now in the relegation zone again. So for me, that's a bit of a weird decision. I think if Watford did go down, he probably would have been good managers to have in the Championship. So yeah, for me, I don't think that's the right decision, and yeah, it definitely surprised me.
Yeah, it was definitely a surprising decision. I would imagine it must have been something personal, something behind closed doors. So I just don't understand why you would sack a manager with 2 games to go, especially when you've got Manchester City and Arsenal. Not saying that obviously Nigel Pearson would have won those games then, but he definitely would have gone out there and at least tried to secure a point from Watford and had them in a better situation than what they're in now. I think it also shows that Premier League football is starting to move on from managers like that. You're starting to see a lot less of managers like himself, Tony Pulis, that sort of style of football. And I think these lower teams are trying to play more football now. So whether they'll try and get more of a football style manager for when they're in the Championship, I'm not too sure. But to sack him with 2 games to go, I don't understand what Watford have tried to do. I don't think it's nowhere near enough time, especially with how close games are now, to get a manager in and expect to win against Manchester City and Arsenal.
Well, his record was pretty decent under Watford. They have had 3 managers this season. I think Javi Garcia went in the first few games. Kike Flores came back. He went in a few games' time. But his record there was 7 wins, 4 draws and 9 losses, earning 25 points across those 20 matches. But is it just weird to sort of see this happen? Would you more expect to see this at the end of the season when he could have possibly rescued them and they would come to agreement? But there was talk of a fight at half-time in the dressing room, which has been denied by Troy Deeney. But it's just so weird to see this. But this is the Watford way, isn't it? They get managers in short term and they go.
Yeah, it is strange to see this, and I would have expected them to wait until the season ends. As I said before, I think he would have been a good manager in the Championship, but maybe them rumours are true. If he lost, the player support in the dressing room, maybe Watford wanted to go because of that. But as you said, Deeney kind of said that didn't happen. So yeah, I'd expect them to wait until the end of the season. I just really don't understand why they sacked him 2 games to go. I just don't know what that really achieves, because it makes the squad disjointed then, with the caretaker manager coming in and kind of putting his own style on it. So yeah, it definitely affects the team, and especially if you've got Man City and Arsenal. They've already lost 4-0 to Man City, and they're looking good to go down now. So yeah, really, really odd thing, definitely.
Yeah, definitely odd. I don't know if they tried to do what Everton done and thought the caretaker manager would win for them straight away, but it doesn't always work like that. I mean, Pearson has been known to do well with teams. He's a safe manager to have. He keeps teams up. So I just don't think it was the right thing to do. I think they can still get something at Arsenal after obviously them losing to Villa, and will be concentrating on the FA Cup. But to be honest, when you've got a caretaker manager in and you're trying to implement a new style to a team, it's going to be very hard.
As you said there, yes, a new caretaker manager for Watford, Hayden Millings, has taken over. He took over the 2 games between Kike Flores' sacking and Nigel Pearson's appointment, where he lost both of them as Watford manager. It looks like the decision has backfired at the moment. They lost 4-0 to Man City. Villa have now jumped them by 1 goal difference. It looks like it has backfired, but with Nigel Pearson possibly, and would we possibly see more an experienced approach took into that game? We would know what happened. Maybe they might not have lost 4-0. They may have lost by 2-0, because now it looks like that 4-0 scoreline might cost them their place in the Premier League.
Yeah, maybe, but I think whatever manager you've got at Watford, I think obviously playing against Man City is going to be tough, and it's most probably going to be a loss. But yeah, I think the fact that Nigel Pearson has proven before that he can save teams. He'd done it with Leicester. He pretty much did the impossible. They were pretty much down, and they managed to stay up in the end. So yeah, I think he's a proven manager. I think he's a good manager. So he maybe could have gone into these games a different way. I think, as Piers said, I think they do have a chance against Arsenal as they're in the FA Cup final. But it is looking difficult for them to stay up, and it will be interesting to see who they decide to go with in the summer, if they're going to if they do go down, who they decide to be their manager for next year in the Championship. But yeah, I think, I just think it was a wrong decision overall.
Yeah, I think it's a wrong decision, but I don't think having Pearson in may have changed the scoreline. You know, Man City, like they'll score as many goals they want against whoever they want. They do it against the top six. They'll do it against the bottom six. So I can't take that away from the caretaker manager. You know, it's probably one of the hardest games possible, unless it was another team just like Liverpool. But for Watford, you know, it's going to be very hard. I think if you were to sack a manager, at least wait to the end of the season. Even if Watford do start, you can still get rid of him and bring someone in. But to get rid of a manager with 2 games to go, it doesn't make sense at all.
Doesn't make sense at all. Well, this sort of decision has favoured Aston Villa, a team that's informed. They haven't won the last 10. They're winners in 10, but the last 3 they have won. They've got 7 points out of the last 3 games. That's favoured them a lot. Do Villa now look like a team in form? They've got to play West Ham, where Watford have got to play Arsenal. Will we possibly see Aston Villa stay up over Watford now?
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. I think Villa will go into this game against West Ham thinking that they can win it. Obviously, West Ham don't really have anything to play for now. I know Arsenal don't, but I think Watford playing Arsenal is a tougher game than Aston Villa have. But you know, Aston Villa just have to match Watford's result now. Obviously, the Bournemouth are in the mix as well. They've got Everton, I believe.
Yes, they've got Everton away.
Yeah, okay, so that's a tough game as well. But yeah, I think I'd be in favour of Aston Villa staying up over Watford. I think they can get the result against West Ham. And I just don't think Watford have enough at the moment, obviously now with the caretaker manager. I know Arsenal, they're maybe focusing on the Cup, but you know, it's still going to be tough to beat Arsenal. So yeah, even if Watford do win, I think Aston Villa may get the result against West Ham. So I think Aston Villa are going to stay up.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think Aston Villa still got a hard game. Don't get me wrong. West Ham are in some decent form at the moment. Obviously, they've got Manchester United tonight, so that may tie some of the players coming into it. But for Villa, I would definitely have them as strong favourites. They played good football all season. They've played well against the top teams. So I think a win is very realistic. I think Watford is going to be hard. Although Arsenal may be concentrating on the FA Cup, they're not going to want to be going into that game on a loss. You don't want to lose 2 games and then go into the final. So I think Arsenal are going to be up for it as well. And you've seen what they've done against the likes of City and Liverpool recently. So I think, even if Watford were to win, the goal difference, if Watford and Villa were both to win, the goal difference is going to be too much for Watford. They're not going to beat Arsenal something like 4-0, are they? So I think I would say the bottom 3 is probably decided now.
It does look like they are decided. Now heading back up to the top of the table, the top 4 race took another twist as Leicester were humiliated by Tottenham 3-0. This defeat now leaves them in an uncertain position over Champions League football, as they don't have a game in hand over Manchester United and Chelsea, who play tonight. It looks like now the final game of the season for Leicester against Manchester United is going to be the most important game of the season for them. Will they win it, and will they possibly get in this top 4, or will they now reside to 5th Europa League? You could get possibly a better run in the Europa League instead of the Champions League, where they could get knocked out quite easy and just be out of the Champions League by December. Yeah,
it's going to be a really tough game for Leicester. Obviously, we know that Man United are playing well at the moment, and Leicester have been on a decline, really. Obviously, this game is huge for both clubs if they want to get into the Champions League. I think Man United probably go into it favourites, but Leicester will have the fight in them, obviously. But I don't know. I think Man United have too much for them. And I think this form going into this game and the form that they've had from lockdown is going to affect them. So it's hard to predict, but I think Man United are going to edge it in the final game. And I think Leicester will be playing Europa League football next year.
Yes, Agent Mourinho strikes again. Obviously, thankfully, it's that win in there helps out Chelsea towards the top. I don't know with Leicester and Manchester United come to this final game because, Leicester have really struggled to come back after this break. They've struggled against any half decent team that they've played. Manchester United seem to have got a little bit exposed on the weekends. They've been beating the teams at the bottom half of the table, but once they played a club at the top, it seemed to fall apart. Of course, there was the 2 mistakes by De Gea, but I don't think their overall team performance Manchester United fans would be happy with. I think it is dependent on how Manchester United do tonight against West Ham. I think if they only pick up a point from that, then they're going to be really up for beating Leicester. But if they win, then they might try and coast it through it and take a point so they can be secure over Chelsea. But I think for Leicester, regardless if they finish 5th or in the top 4, I think Leicester fans should still be happy with the season. I know they've fallen off quite heavily because people will talk about them chasing for the title in November, December time. But I mean, they've still had a very good season, and to play European football regardless for that team being in the Europa League, I mean, I think they could do very well. If a team like Wolves can do well, Leicester will as well.
Yes, we will have to wait and see. That'll be an epic conclusion on Sunday to see who will reach the Champions League. Now, moving on to the FA Cup, we saw some very, very tasty games. So we had Arsenal versus Manchester City and Manchester United versus Chelsea. But starting off with Arsenal versus Man City, the apprentice beat the master finally as Mikel Arteta guides Arsenal to the FA Cup title, reaching it for the 21st time in Arsenal's history. That's the most in FA Cup history, that is. Arsenal seem to love the FA Cup. They don't like the Premier League. They love the FA Cup. Aubameyang double sends Arsenal through. How important is he to the Gunners, really, Aubameyang? Because we know he's about his contract. There's a contract issue between him and Arsenal at the moment. But if they can nail him down to a long-term contract, will that sort of help Arsenal go forward in the future and possibly be the first step of the foundation to getting Arsenal back to where they belong at the top of the table?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's proven this season that he can be a fantastic goal scorer for them. I think he's a fantastic player, and I think that was a brilliant signing from them when they did sign him. Obviously, Arsenal haven't been great this season. I think they're 10th in the league right now, so they've had a pretty much failure of a season. But I think he's probably been the standout this season. I think he's the only player really that's except from that youngster, I can't remember, Saka, isn't it? I think he's impressed as well. But I think Aubameyang is definitely the standout player, and I think he'll be crucial. Obviously, I think they need to make a few more signings in the summer to improve their squad. But if they can get him down, put a pen to paper and get him, a long-term contract, then I think he could be crucial for Arsenal. But I don't know, maybe someone else will try and come in for him, but don't know about that.
Would you highlight that Arsenal season is sort of a failure because they are now mathematically impossible now to overtake Tottenham in the Premier League? So the FA Cup now is sort of the only bit of glory they could possibly get this season. Is that really, Piers?
Yeah, I mean, the main person to blame, I would say, for Arsenal's season is obviously Unai Emery for that and the Arsenal board. I think, Aubameyang under Arteta has found a great bit of form. I think Arteta has done a brilliant job coming into Arsenal. I think he's changed the mentality, and I think he's passionate for the club. He's said multiple times that they need money and they need signings because that Arsenal team isn't good enough. I mean, personally, their defence is a joke, especially for a club like Arsenal who were invincibles and were making it to the Champions League final. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be disgusted with that defence. You want to be challenged for the title. I mean, the 10th in the league, it's not good enough for them really. So I think with Arteta has done well. I think if they can hold on to Aubameyang, I would do everything in my power to if I was Arsenal. And they need to build on that. And I think if Arteta gets the support, then Arsenal could definitely try and at least get back into the Champions League over the next few years.
Well, speaking of Pep Guardiola, his sort of assistant was Mikel Arteta. It looks like Arteta found some flaws in the Man City sort of side on the weekend, exposed them. Were you quite surprised to see Man City get exposed like that? And are we now sort of seeing a Man City side that are more focused on something else? They're more focused on this Champions League, the glory of having the first ever sort of Champions League coming home to the Etihad for once?
Yeah, maybe. I think I was definitely surprised by the result. I didn't actually watch the game, but I looked at the stats and I was like, "What's the?" I think Arsenal had 4 shots which were all on target, and they won 2-0, which is mental. And Man City looked like they dominated the game. So yeah, it was quite surprising. Maybe Man City are concentrating on the Champions League. I don't know. I don't know if they can go and win it. I think they've got a chance, but it's going to be difficult to do that. Yeah, so maybe they're focused on something else. But yeah, I was not expecting Arsenal to get through to the final in this one. I was pretty sure it's going to be a City United final, but it's complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to see. I mean, Arsenal done the same against Liverpool. You know, it shows that they have got talent in that team. People like Saka and Aubameyang, even Lacazette is still a good player in my eyes. I mean, Man City have lost 9 games this season, which is kind of mental. Obviously, it just shows, you know, credit to Liverpool how well they've done this season. But I mean, Man City, they seem to just have a little. I don't know what it is. They've just seen a bit underperforming this season. You know, their best players, although they're still good and class them get into any team, as a team themselves, they don't seem to have worked well together and made some mistakes. I think defensively is probably where they need to work most. But credit Arsenal, they went there and they done what they needed to do, just like against Liverpool. When they had their chances, they took them and scored. I mean, thanks to the Arsenal keeper as well. Obviously, Miles had a great shot. I believe it was in the second half that he saved. So it was credit to Arsenal. I think Man City have to focus on the Champions League now. I still think they're one of the favourites with PSG and Bayern. So hopefully for them they can get through.
Hopefully they can as well. Well, moving on to the second semi-final, Chelsea will be joining Arsenal in the final after 2 David De Gea mistakes. Secured victory for Frank Lampard's side, ending Manchester United's 19-game unbeaten streak in all competitions. Chelsea looked very strong, energetic and dangerous. We sort of seen flashes this season really hit and miss really. But are they now strong favourites for the Cup this year? Can we say that now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're probably favourites going into this game. They were really strong against Manchester. I know it was 2 mistakes from De Gea, which kind of proves my point. I've always said all along that De Gea is overrated, and there you go.
Finally.
But yeah, they look really strong, and I think they're definitely favourites going into the final. And you know, it's a big game, obviously, against rivals as well. So yeah, I think Chelsea are going to win the game. I just think Arsenal defence is going to be their undoing in the final. And yeah, Chelsea definitely favourites for me.
I mean, of course, I'm going to say Chelsea are favourites coming into this. I'm not going to bag Arsenal on this, am I? I'm hoping it's going to be Baku Part 2 and revenge for the 2017 FA Cup. I mean, to be honest, I'm not too sure who the favourites are coming into this. I know Arsenal are 10th and Chelsea are 3rd. And, you know, Arsenal will definitely be looking for European football through this. But still, I think Arsenal always seem to do well in most of these cup finals, in the FA Cup and the Community Shield. They're always a dangerous team. Whenever people seem to doubt Arsenal in these big games, they always seem to come through. But on the other hand, Chelsea looked great with that back 5 against Manchester United. Although there was the 2 mistakes from De Gea, Chelsea still looked great within the game. I thought we looked dangerous. You know, we were pushing the pace in the game. Manchester United couldn't get the ball. I think Chelsea looked very good. Obviously, coming into the game, I think it's been very hard. You know, this Arteta side is starting to look good. They're good results. They do well when they're not in possession of the ball. You know, they win with the minority of possession. Obviously, Chelsea like to keep the ball as much as possible. But I think it's going to be so important for both managers. You know, both 2 young managers looking to win their first trophies for their club. I think personally for myself, obviously Chelsea will win. I think we've just got more of a stronger squad. I think if they play that back 5, they'll be able to shut out their attack. And I think if we send balls over the top, it's going to cause major problems for their defence.
Yes, and moving on to Manchester United, the game was sort of cost by David De Gea's 2 big mistakes. Did Ollie sort of make the right decision in bringing him in? Because Sergio Romero has been playing all the FA Cup games, but did that sort of backfire on him really? Should he just start with Romero, just keep it consistent like you have been all this time in the other games?
I think going into a big game like this, an FA Cup semi-final, I think he's always going to play his better keeper. Obviously, Romero's done pretty well. But, you can't really predict what's going to happen on the day. And obviously, De Gea, Man United love De Gea, don't they? So he's their number one keeper. So I think I expected him to be in goal. But I still think he's overrated. I really do. I'm like Roy Keane, aren't I? But yeah, I think he's their number one keeper. So going into important games like that one, I think they would have picked him. But yeah, maybe unfortunate for Romero as he's done okay in the FA Cup games going into this. But yeah, number one goalkeeper, so he's going to start, I think.
Yeah, of course. If Sergio Romero had played and made those mistakes, people have been complaining, why did you play De Gea? It's FA Cup semi-final, why didn't you play him? I don't think you can put all the blame on De Gea. I think you've got to blame players like Harry Maguire as well. I don't think he was not good enough for that Manchester United side. I don't think he's good enough for that Manchester United side. Manchester United are supposed to be one of the best clubs in the world. Obviously, they were regarded, just below Barcelona and Real Madrid at one point. And that they should be buying players like that. People might say they're going for a transition, but you should still always want the best for your club. So I think the mistakes happened, but overall in the game, Manchester United didn't make any chances anyway. The only time they scored was because of a silly penalty. So I think obviously De Gea is definitely to blame for those goals and obviously put morale down. And obviously the injury to Boy, but they should have gone for it more. But obviously, on the day, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Well, we'll see Arsenal versus Chelsea in the final. Having a look at the previous stats, Arsenal have never lost an FA Cup final against Chelsea in the two matches they've played. They won in the 01 to 02 season and the 16-17 season. Who's going to win? Will we see more of an attack-minded Arsenal? Will we see Arsenal go for this? Because the last time these two sides played, Chelsea just won the Premier League. They didn't look very good, and Arsenal then came and won. Will we possibly see that? Chelsea have sort of got the top four. They don't really need anything else. Or will we see a very hungry Arsenal coming into this game?
Yeah, I do expect to see a hungry Arsenal. I think, obviously, this is the only thing they've to play for now. And I think to win a cup, I think, is the only really good point of this season for them. So, yeah, they'll come into this game wanting to fight for the cup, I think. But I just think, I don't think their team's good enough. Obviously, they've got a pretty good attack. They're pretty good attacking wise, but I just think their defence will be there and doing them. I think Chelsea, if they, as Piers said earlier, if they play the ball long, I think that will cause problems for Arsenal's defence. And I think Chelsea are going to win the game. I can't see Arsenal winning the cup. I think it'll be 2-1 to Chelsea.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. Arsenal's team have been on form, but I can see it being one of these games where someone like David Luiz does make a major mistake. I think it's going to be typical. They've done so well. They start to hype up their players, and then something like that happens. But also, again, it would be typical of Arsenal to go there and beat Chelsea 1-0, like they've done the last few times we've played them at Wembley. But I just think Chelsea team will be too strong. If they've just secured Champions League, I think they want to finish on a high. If they don't secure Champions League, they'll also want to finish on a high. So I think that they want it more, and I think Chelsea should win this. I think there's more talent in that team. They're more of a team, and I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Arsenal, and I'm not sure some of those players will be able to handle it.
Well, I'm actually going to throw my hat into the ring. I'm actually going to say Arsenal are going to win. I'm going to show some support to Arsenal. You're neglecting them both, so I'm going to say Arsenal are going to win 2-1 because that's what Arsenal do on the day. So moving on from the FA Cup, we're now moving down to the Championship. Dan's favourite league in the world. He says it's the best in the world. Supposedly. Only he's ever said that. Nobody else has said it on this show. But
no. Come on. Not only me.
Okay, well, a team that currently likes it is Leeds United. They have ended their 16-year absence away from the Premier League. They have now finally got promoted from the Championship as champions. Hooray! Everyone's so happy. Said one Leeds fan. But Leeds have enjoyed a great campaign this season after bouncing back from last season's heartbreak. This is an incredible achievement by Leeds. Can we put this down to sort of Marcelo Bielsa sort of the mastermind behind Leeds' success this season, because they were quite lucky to keep him. We if you've ever seen the Amazon Prime documentary, he was close to walking after what happened with Spygate, that blew up sort of Leeds season really, and missing out on that promotion. Are they lucky to still have him there?
Yeah, I think so. I think last year, they missed out on the playoff final, and I think there was a lot of rumours that he was gonna leave. I don't know whether he was going to leave by mutual consent or he was going to get sacked. I'm not sure which way it was going to go, but he decided to stay. I think he got a 1-year extension, if I remember rightly. I can't exactly remember, but I'm probably wrong. But yeah, I think it was quite lucky for him to stay. I think maybe he wanted to stay on, and I think if Leeds didn't get promoted this year, he probably would have left. But they've had a fantastic season. And they've been pretty much top of the league throughout the season. I think they had a bit in kind of February time where they were in the playoffs, but pretty much the whole season they've been top of the league. And they definitely deserve to go up. I think his playing style, Marcelo Bielsa's playing style, is really good. He plays the more passing game, which goes well in the Championship. We've seen it with Brentford as well. So yeah, I think they deserve to go up. Their team's very good for the Championship, and yeah, they've had a fantastic season. So definitely worthy champions.
Yeah, I think I agree with Dan. I think the changes made at Leeds is ridiculous. Considering the money that they put into the team as well. I mean, you look at where Leeds were when, say, Ipswich were pushing for promotion. The change in them is ridiculous, and like Dan said as well, they play some great football. I think that's a big change you're seeing in English football now. I think ever since Pep Guardiola's come over, I think it's changed English football on a whole. No more do you really see these top teams playing long ball, holding out for a 0-0, or just having a big guy up top. I think it's started to change, just like you said, with teams like Brentford and even West Brom and Fulham seem to play a lot better football. So I think for Leeds it's brilliant for them, and I think with a few additions they'll do well in the Premier League as well.
Has Bielsa sort of learned from his mistakes of last season, because he came into the Championship? I think he sort of underestimated the Championship a bit, because Leeds said they won it by September. They looked dominant, but the sort of what happened with the Spygate sort of took a lot of focus off Leeds season and what's going on behind the scenes. Are they cheating? Are they not? And sort of burning out his squad, because they burnt out towards the end of that season. They missed out on the top two. They went into that dreaded playoff finals and they lost to Derby very famously like that. But has he sort of learned from his mistakes to sort of make Leeds better than what they were last season? And they were good last season.
Yeah, they were good. And yeah, I think he has learned from his mistakes. I think last year, as you said, things kind of went against them. I think with Spygate, a lot of attention was on them because of that. There was that whole thing with the Villa game as well, that there was that whole controversy. I just remembered that. I think that kind of affected it as well. And I do think Bielsa kind of underestimated the slog that the championship can be sometimes. I think it's a really long season. You've got to play a lot of teams. There's cup games as well. There's a lot of games to play from August to May. So I think he kind of underestimated how teams were improving and things like that. But this season, obviously, he's had the experience of playing a season in the Championship. He's kind of improved his squad, and they've been brilliant this season, and they're now going up. So I think he's definitely learned from his mistakes from last season coming into this season.
Yeah, I think last season there was a lot of pressure on Leeds. I think there was a lot of hype around Leeds. People were talking about it every single week. I think coming into this season, especially with the break, people didn't really seem to talk about the Championship at all. It was all about the Premier League. And it seems like it's given Leeds a nice little way to gain their wings with no pressure and go up. And I think after having what happened, Spygate and Derby and everything, I think it must have lit a fire under those players for the new season and probably help them get where they are. But I mean, brilliant manager and a brilliant team.
It's a brilliant manager, a brilliant team. Also, Derby were the first team to give him a guard of honour on Sunday, which went down very well because Leeds decided to do a few promotional videos of looking through binoculars at Pride Park. And was it their owner pulled out some binoculars, didn't he, at the end of the game as Leeds won 3-1? Oh,
He did, yeah.
You couldn't write this stuff. Oh, God. But Leeds fans will be heading into the Premier League. Should Leeds fans be quite excited about going back to Premier League because their owners have highlighted an approach of quality over quantity buying, what they have sort of described as buying like Sheffield United, not like Aston Villa buying a brand new squad. But does that sort of show confidence in the players that are currently there? They have got some really good players at Leeds United. Does that sort of show that they're going to maybe rely on them to sort of help them in the Premier League and build the future of Leeds United?
Yeah, I think so. I think, what I can see from that Leeds squad is they have the confidence in that squad that they have now. I think they've got some fantastic players, and I think making that we've seen Villa and Fulham do that, spend loads of money, and it hasn't worked. So I think Leeds will go into this season, in the Premier League, thinking that they have the squad that can stay up. And I think their squad is good enough to stay up. I think they do need to make a few more additions. I think their fullback areas need a little bit of improvement. But I think overall their squad I think they're confident that they can stay up. And I think their squad is good enough to stay up. And it's good to see that they're not going to, splash the cash like Sheffield United haven't done, and see how good of a season they've had. So, yeah, I think it's good to see that they're not going to spend a lot of money and actually, have the confidence that they can keep their squad that they've had in their promotion season.
Also, they have highlighted. They also have highlighted they want to break their record of transfer fee record, which was set 20 years ago by Rio Ferdinand for 18 million. So they will splash the cash out on someone. They have highlighted that they want to break that record. They want to finally get rid of that curse. Have somebody that's a new marquee signing, not Rio Ferdinand, who's a Manchester United player, which causes a lot of controversy around Leeds fans anyway. But what are your thoughts on it, Piers?
I think, like Dan said, it'd be good to see how they do. But there's so many avenues that can happen. They can spend loads of money and they can have a season like Wolves, or they can have a season like Villa, or they can spend no money, have a season like Sheffield United, or have a season like Norwich. So it's so hard to know what to do. I think it's not about how much you spend. I think it's about who you spend it on, and if they're the right players for the teams. It's like a prime example. I could say a player like Alvaro Morata is a brilliant player, but he didn't suit that Chelsea team. So that's why they didn't get Champions League that season, because he wasn't the right player and couldn't score the goals. So I think if Leeds get the right players in, then they should do well. I don't see why they couldn't finish mid-table, 10th or 11th. I think would be brilliant for them.
Will be brilliant for them. What could we possibly expect from Leeds United in their first season back in the Premier League? Because we're going to see some old rivalries. Leeds versus Manchester United. We haven't seen that game for a long, long time. Everybody's going to have this approach that everyone hates Leeds. And they're going to be this sort of a pantomime villain. So where will we sort of expect them to finish in the first season back? It's going to be the hardest one to predict, I think, Leeds, because we could be talking like a Wolves, or we could be talking like an Aston Villa, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could do. I think really the difference between Wolves and Leeds is Wolves had a foreign manager who knew players in Portugal, and they pretty much have the same squad that they have now in the Championship. And they were just too good. But yeah, it's difficult to predict where Leeds are going to be. I think it's going to be really interesting to see them up against teams like United, obviously, and Liverpool and teams like that. Obviously, Sky are going to have a field day with them, with Leeds being in the Premier League. So that's going to be interesting as well. Yeah, I think they have every chance of staying up. I really do. I think they've got a good team spirit there. I think, obviously, their manager is a fantastic manager. And I really do think they have a chance of staying up. And I think if they can finish mid-table, their fans will be very happy and it'll be a successful season.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. I don't think it's going to be an easy season for them. Don't get me wrong. They got a good team, but coming up to the Premier League is always hard. I don't think they'll have as much success as Wolves and Sheffield United have trying to push for European football, but I still think that they'll do well. I still think they'll be a lot better than a lot of the teams that have gone up previously. So I would imagine them finishing mid-table or just below sort of that 12th, 13th or 14th spot.
Okay, well, let's just have a quick little look at football roundup before we go at the end of the show. So actually, wait, we have got a little bit of championship news, haven't we? Because it is the final day of the championship tonight, which we will possibly see who gets relegated and who will join Leeds United in the Premier League next season. I think, if I remember correctly, it's between West Brom and Brentford. Yes, I am correct. And Fulham as well. Fulham are involved in this, which is going to be quite interesting. And the relegation battle as well, as Hull City sit bottom of the championship and need a win tonight to get out of that bottom three like Barnsley and Luton do. So it will be very interesting tonight and see who gets into the playoffs as well. But yeah, that is everything on the football roundup because it's the final day of the championship. Anything can happen. It's crazy. Leeds got promoted.
Yeah.
What could happen next? What could happen next? Well, I want to say thank you for watching or even listening to the show today. I thought I forget to mention, follow us on our Twitter, which is @PitchSideTalk. Instagram is talk_pitch. And if you want to listen back to any of our previous shows on YouTube, it's Pitchside Talk. Or even on Mixcloud, it is Pitchside Talk as well on there. Will I see you guys next week for the Premier League roundup, because it's going to be the final day of the Premier League. We could possibly have the FA Cup final as well to talk about more near the time, and possibly the Championship. We'll find out who will be joining Leeds in the Premier League next season and who will be playing in the playoffs.
Yep.
Sounds good. Yep.
Sounds all good. Well, I've been George. I'll see you later and ciao.
Yeah.
So.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.